Today I'm going to manage to tie together caravanning and my eulogy, why I want to write and record it, a few random comments on vehicle modifications, a little bit about me and us and why I am the most boring man on the planet, as well as out there with the most unattractive. That's probably not lighting anybody's fire, but brutally honest. So it's early morning, sun will come up in an hour or so. It's about 4 degrees, quite warm actually. I'm already on my third coffee. I've seen the misery that is the markets this morning. It'd be interesting to see how much money I'll lose today. I thought I'd do an early morning set because it might be quieter, a bit of road noise from all the people going to work. I shouldn't joke about that because markets collapse anymore, I'll be going back to work with them. I find lots of editing, lots of stuff I don't like, so I come and try and do it again. I think I'm trying to put too much info on different subjects in, but anyway, we'll get better. Don't worry, there is some stuff on caravanning coming. My caravanning reports will probably be strictly missionary position. I thought I was getting a little bit better, but still a lot of editing, and I just need to do a lot better. So I've got a very dark and macabre sense of humour. Definitely not everyone's cup of tea. Not even close to everyone's cup of tea. I heard somewhere that you should have some sort of an introductory vid. This will be that said vid. Maybe I should have done this first. So this was actually recorded over maybe 3 weeks. Lots of things could be different. Focal length, beard length. Probably got a different flannel on. I think about the same beanie on. Big Chill 9 in support of MND. This is video bizzo. All started when I finished work and I was joking with my kids, or telling my kids to video my own eulogy. I'll always wear something on my head outside of severe or radical reconstructive surgery. There's not much going to make my head look good. So I'm figuring, what do I do for practice? I need some practice. Do a bit of caravanning these days, so I'll wrap a few videos together based around that. I made the first one and I ended up recording that 8 times. And my speaking and my bad habits were that bad that eventually I just wrapped it up and posted it. It's still quite poor, but it was terrible. So, as I have done with most things in my life, I just want to get a little bit better before I throw that eulogy / obituary together, because I'm now more keen than ever to do that. So I'm on my own work in progress. So this is theoretically the video where I tell you all about myself and all about my wife and how much I love caravanning. My wife at this stage doesn't have any interest in putting her head on video, so I'm not going to go into her background unless she wants to come on board. Maybe she will, I don't know. She thinks I'm mad, but I'll keep telling my wife she's married poorly, that she could have done much better. I spent a fair bit of time in the primordial slime after going broke in a very big way a number of years ago, so she could definitely do better. I do think I'm the most boring person on the planet, but funnily enough, I'm really happy being the most boring person on the planet. I don't seek or crave interactions or friendships. I always say I have 0 friends and am trying to reduce that number somewhat. So my background is basically agriculture. Last job of 20 years for a large family owned but corporate sized vertical integrator. I ran its commodity program for about 50-60 million a year, and 2 or 3 of its operational divisions. So we have no special number plates, no special music, no car decals, no website. I used to have a website when I was coaching rugby back in the day. We don't fish, We don't smoke, we don't drink, we don't dabble in recreational pharmaceuticals, we don't gamble. Doesn't look good for anything on the tube though, does it? I'm not funny. Well, I think I am, but nobody seems to laugh. I'm as creative as a bag of rocks, and I have a particularly bad head. In fact, I'm an odd shape all over. A guy told me at a footy game recently, he looked me up and down and took a picture and said, "My, you're an odd shape." And I replied that, mate, the game once needed short, fat, unattractive men to indulge in the dark arts of front row play. Not all of us can get touched with the beauty stick. I was certainly dabbed pretty hard with the ugly stick many decades ago. I also enjoy taking the piss out of myself quite a bit. What we do though is it would be nothing to hike 20 to 40 kilometres in a day into a waterfall or at Vivid Sydney, just around Sydney, those types of things. So there'd be a bit of that happening, and we don't mind the odd silo, tank, wall mural, so we'll chase them around a little bit. I do dabble in some photography, generally quite poorly, but I do dabble. Occasionally I jack something decent. I actually started the hashtag Great Australian Bakery Crawl. It's been an abject failure. My 5 top rating bakeries all start with the letter B. That's pretty weird, eh? Got to be a little bit careful visiting all these bakeries. As much as I love them, it's very detrimental to shirt sizing and your waistline. On the Caravanning, I always said I'd never own one, ever. I hated them. Still not 100% convinced. Never going to live in one of those boxes full time, and never will I be in one of those boxes in the summer. So I'm never going to give out the home base. I'd downsize the home base, and while I was at work, it was difficult to get any time off. Certainly couldn't plan, so we became shock and awe travellers. We would just go hard and go home. The phone never stopped. Maybe that was my fault, I don't know. Strangely enough, it was the owner of the business that could go a week without talking to me. The moment I'd leave, he'd be on the phone almost daily, and he'd know what I was doing. Holidays just meant that basically I wasn't on site. There's many times I've returned to site while on holidays. So we decided to buy one in 2017, and we were quite lucky. I don't know how we came across Melbourne City Caravans, but they've been exceptional to deal with. The build on this thing seems to be pretty good, and we'll have a look inside one day. My wife's done some very interesting things in there just to make things a bit easier. Had no trouble with the van. Not that we've done much in it, maybe 20,000-30,000 k's I suppose. Done some rough work. And the other thing I've noticed about Melbourne City Caravans is that they didn't seem to get into the heavily exorbitant prices that prevailed through the end of COVID and after COVID. Their prices are still pretty reasonable. So caravan is a means to an end, and just get away from people. Dark skies at night when you get out in the west. If I did it again, would I do it again? Maybe. If I did it again, I'd do it differently, but I don't think my wife would be on the same page. I'd like to get a little bit rougher and into the desert and things like that. And she said, you just go. I don't know that that's necessarily fair. Some other stuff I'd like to do before I get too old is hiking in the southwest of Tasmania around the Three Capes track. She won't do that with me either. There's a little bit of give and take there. So, in answer to all of those things, how would I do it? Anyway, I'd do it vastly differently. Anyway, it is what it is, and as I said, there's some trade-offs there. We're about to go to Tasmania, and we'll take 7 or 8 days to get down to Geelong. So this will be our 5th trip to Tasmania, 3rd on the boat, 2nd with the van, 1st out of Geelong, and this will also be our longest trip by a long shot. You look at it on a map and you think, we'll get through that pretty quickly, and you come home and you look at the map and you expand the map a bit and you think, Jesus, I've hardly seen anything. It's possibly my favourite place in the world. Could end up living there. One of my great loves is economics, but probably not for this channel. So the other thing we do, my wife hates this, but so every night we sit down and do a spreadsheet. I'll have the spreadsheet designed, obviously, and I should design a database. I've just been too lazy. It's a database fund. We'll put in all our expenses for the day, fuel, food, souvenirs. That allows me then to drill into that data and see where things could have been done better. In fact, for our household budget, I think I've got interlocking spreadsheets that go back to 2007, projections out to 2040. I see a lot of different budget ideas and strategies, and budgeting. It's something that's pretty dear to my heart. I used to have to put together a multi-million-dollar one, obviously for work. Well, not obviously. Every year that contains some pretty interesting predictions. And of course, I've put my own together for a number of years as well. At some point, not today, I'll delve into my methodology and how I decide what costs go against what, and how I work those costs out, and even from an accounting perspective, taxation perspective. Not that these are tax deductible, but there's different ways to look at how you write things down and how you apportion cost. Obviously, with a budget that's that extensive, it needs to be reviewed, so I'd review mine generally in August, because by then we would know if we were getting a pay rise, if there were any bonuses, or what costs we might be facing in the next year, what increased costs. I should look at the budget daily, but major reviews around August. And if something's going to change in a big way, we'll have a look at it then as well. Just like buying a caravan, it's always good to get and compare average fuel consumptions, average fuel prices, for want of something. It's something you can set a benchmark for. It's fuel. Obviously, lots of things can and will change between now and 2040. So, a budget's a liquid thesis in reality. And you look and see where you're at and make changes as you go. Hopefully, I've danced with the Reaper by then. Sorry, that's Reaper, G, full stop, G for Grim. Then, but it's good to know where you may or may not be at. And it doesn't matter whether we're in the caravan or just the car or just life itself. Actuals are recorded against budget, and so I've got that data for almost 20 years now, and we continue to gather that data until the Reaper and I do our final dance. One of my great fears, of course, is not having enough. If someone could give me the end date, that date that I do dance with Reaper, G, full stop, I could do a budget for that. The Reaper's invited me to the dance floor on a couple of occasions already, but I've been able to reject his flirtatious advances to date. However, the time is coming at some stage. I'm on my third cup of coffee, so excuse me, I am an early bird. So as much as the van stuff's concerned, we did some hard stuff. Well, hard stuff for a van like this. We've been to Birdsville a few times, and no, not to the bash or the races. I'd love to go to the bash for the music, but the people, it'd just be a shithole. Nobody could tell me I'd enjoy myself there. So we go in between. We've been down the track, down into South Oz, and when we went down, it was a pretty good road. I've been on rougher roads around here. We've been to the Cape, that was rough. When we towed it down to Cameron Corner, I probably wouldn't tow this weight of van down there again. That was naivety and inexperience. at its height. A couple of trips to central Queensland and a few other non-notable events. They're not really designed for off-road, off-bitumen maybe. And that's one of the things I might do differently. The hybrid van, hybrid camper things to go at the moment. Same wheel tracks as your car, so you get a little bit more off-road, but I guess it depends on your definition of off-road. You've got the full off-road, all-for adventure type operation, right down to a little more casual. We're never going to be into that vehicle destruction, full-on, take it into the roughest place on earth, as those all-for adventure blokes do. Look, it makes good TV, good on them, half their luck. It's just not me. Much as I'd love to go into some of those places, I'd probably walk in or get helicoptered in. I do pretty much everything on standard vehicles, and this one's completely unmodified. It is interesting to look at all the upgrades that are out there, and there's an industry built around it. They're not making any dough out of me, and unlikely to. I'm pretty keen to preserve things like warranty and insurance. Always get concerned about warranty and insurance in the context of modifications. When I talk about modifications, I obviously put mirrors on the car. Insurance company we recently rang when insurance renewal was due actually considered the cable that I ran from the engine bay back to the rear of the car to run the safety Dave camera a modification. So depends on your definition of modifications, but we can only go with what insurance companies and warranty providers call modifications. Why do I want to video my own eulogy? You go to someone's funeral and people are all there saying what a wonderful person that was. And you think in some of those cases, but gee, you didn't used to like this person when he was alive, when he or she was alive. So what's changed now that he's dead, now that he or she's dead? I'm here to tell you that if you didn't like me when I was alive, I'm still the same. And I really want to talk to those people from the box before the flame. And this plant's particularly interesting. I'm not sure why my wife's growing that, but it's definitely a phallic symbol. However, it sits on this table, so if I'm going to use this table, it may as well be in shot. I'm sitting on the other side of the table this morning. Huge difference. Doesn't look like we're going to catch any sunrise because I'm about finished, but it'll come up soon. Beautiful clear morning. I don't think it's cold enough for a frost, which is unfortunate.